Hey, so my name is Tyler Small, founder and CEO of the Five Star Approach, and I just wanted to give you a walkthrough today of the problems we're trying to solve, the assumptions that we've made, and some of the breakthroughs that are literally changing the industry and flipping it on its head. The tagline of our company is transforming work relationships from good to great. And the work relationship doesn't have to be as good as good. It can be, a toxic work relationship or one that's very really suffering, but it also doesn't have to be, totally toxic. We don't have to find, these super toxic work environments to work in. We do a lot of changing relationships from good to great. So really, it's something that we believe every organization can use. So here's what we'll cover in this overview here. The problems we're trying to solve, our assumptions about the problem, the solution that we're providing, the backbone of the ultimate relationship question, we call it, which is the foundation of measurement for measuring relationships. And then the three types of five-star moments we'll cover. And then finally the channels of influence that we use to affect participants who are going through the group. So problem 1 of 3 is that according to Gallup, 84% of Americans are not engaged at work. And this is a major problem, especially as we see a lot of workplaces going to the home environment, working from home, working remotely. And we see that without the supervision that was formally in place, there are even a lot more problems, distractions that can occur. So that this statistic that the large majority of Americans are not engaged at work is a major problem, and we've seen this in organizations across the board, with a few exceptions. And if this is a problem in your organization, it doesn't have to be 84% that are not engaged, but even just a few that aren't engaged can act like a cancer in your organization. That negativity and the blasé, the lack of passion for the job and for the mission of the company and for the team and the culture that's there. So we see this as a major problem, and this is a well-documented problem that we have talked about a lot and in the industry, and it's something that is comes up over and over again in every industry. So part 2 of the problem is that there's this phenomenon of perception, and your entire contribution, each speaking to each worker in the organization, each person who's a part of that organization, their entire contribution and all of their skills are evaluated by humans, right? And so it's not really the work that's done, it's the perception of the work that's done. Your relationships with people are the lenses they look through to determine your value. So what is the way that people are evaluated is not the actual work that they've done. Again, it's the perception of the work that they're doing, and that perception is based on the relationship. That's the lens that they're looking through. So if they see it through a rose-colored lens, then that's going to look really good. But if they're seeing it through a lens of a poor relationship, that has a huge effect on a person's satisfaction at work, a person's ability to demonstrate their value, to move up in the organization, or just even to get their job done. So part 3 of the problem is that traditionally speaking, relationships are impossible to measure. They're really, really tough. And there's, some anecdotal things, and there's some complicated instruments that are used to rate and evaluate relationships. But there's not really been a way to, for example, to tell how do you know if your relationship is better this week than it was last week? That's a really tough thing to measure, and especially on an ongoing basis in a way that's sustainable for two people who are in a fast moving, rapidly changing work environment. Um, there just hasn't been a way to do this. And we're really excited for the work we're doing because we believe, of course, that we've solved this problem. And we've shown data to demonstrate the solution. So I'm just going to move this little box down a little bit. So the assumptions that we have here are based on these 6 boxes, and it starts out with emotional intelligence here. Here, I feel kind of weird because I'm like hiding my face from you, but I'm just going to make it really small here. Move it over. I can move it. I can move it up a little bit. So it starts with emotional intelligence, and really that's the basis of everything that leads to organizational performance. Our goal is to help your organization perform better, right? And so it goes through this sequence based on someone's emotional intelligence, based on the collective emotional intelligence of your workers. They're going to create certain experiences with the other people they work with, experiences with their bosses, experiences with customers, clients, interactions between coworkers. So those experiences, the quality of those experiences is going to be completely based on the emotional intelligence of the individual. And part of that is knowing, hey, I don't have the skill set. I'm self-aware enough to tell you that I don't have the skill set to do this job, right? Or, hey, I need some help over here because I'm not able to do it. So when you think about emotional intelligence being this soft and squishy thing, it's actually very directly related and pertinent to accomplishing tasks and making decisions. So the experiences is the major building block of relationships. And relationships is the major building block of culture. And you can see that as we look at relationships in an individual and a team environment. So individuals report to a boss and they have coworkers, right? And so those relationships start to become really important. And then in a team performance as well, it's the aggregation of the relationships on that team. And so relationships feed into culture, and the whole culture of the organization is going to be very determinant of the organizational performance. And that's been proven over and over again across studies. One notable one by Gallup, they showed that on an index, they looked at the top 100 great places to work, and they compared that to the average place to work, and they found that according to their index, that those companies in the top 100 outperformed the others by 5%, which translates to, depending on the industry, up to 12 to 15 percentage points greater gross revenues. And we're talking about more profitability. There's a lot of statistics on this out there if you go and read, and I won't spend forever on it. I just want to point out that culture, being a very fuzzy thing sometimes, is directly responsible for a good portion of organizational performance. Um, so culture is measured, organizational performance is measured by all the financial and accounting metrics of the organization. Team and individual performance are measured, of course, with KPIs. And culture, you might wonder, how is culture measured? We measure culture in several ways. For example, the Great Places to Work survey, or the Glint survey, or there's even things as simple as um, the Net Promoter Employee Score, and there's lots of ways to measure culture. That's done typically on a 6 to 12 month basis, and there's also a lot of ways to measure emotional intelligence. Specifically, Talent Smart have millions of data points where they've measured people's, how good they are at social skills. And if you don't know the term emotional intelligence, it's similar to cognitive or brain intelligence, but it's more with the feelings and emotions. And it comes in really handy when you're doing things like sales or leadership, or just trying to work with team members when you're trying to perform a task or to make a decision. So anytime you're working with humans, emotional intelligence tends to be really important. And there's specific measures for that, and Talent Smart has ones that are very inexpensive. The two black boxes here are literally that, or figuratively that as well. Experiences, measuring an individual experience between two people and measuring a relationship in the past has just been literally a black box. We can measure all these blue boxes, but these two things just we haven't figured out how to do that until very recently. And that's what the 5-star approach is all about. So the 5-star approach is about measuring and improving experiences and relationships week by week. And so let's talk a little bit more about that. The backbone of all of this is the ultimate relationship question. I mentioned this before. And the ultimate relationship question is very simple. It takes as little as 5 seconds to ask and answer. So it's not a survey that's taken. It's not an assessment that's, it's not a 360 review. There's nothing complicated about it. It can be done between workers who work remotely, virtually, or it can be done between people who are co-located. The sidekick question follows up, and it gives the opportunity for the participant asking for advice to be able to receive direction and be able to speed up their efforts that will follow. So the ultimate relationship question is the backbone of the program, because it creates that measurement of the quality of the relationship, and we recommend asking it each week so that progress is measured week by week, and it can be improved upon very rapidly in this method. So 5-star moments are all about the experiences that happen. So the majority of them are going to be 5-star experiences. And there are 3 steps to that: open, deliver, and follow up. And those are the fundamental steps of the program. There are also 5-star thank yous and 5-star apologies. So I said the majority of the work that's done is in creating these experiences. They're going through, they're asking, hey, we're working on this project. How can I make this a 5-star experience for you? Or, hey, we're looking at this product that you're evaluating. You're looking at going with our company, buying this program. How can I make a 5-star experience for you as we explore this, right? They're making a plan. They're agreeing, okay, so if I can accomplish this for you, that would be a 5-star experience. Great. And then deliver is all about doing what you said you would do and checking in to ensure that you're on track, that you're meeting expectations. Then the follow-up is all about asking again, hey, so we did this together. I worked on these pieces. Now that you've seen the final product, how would you rate that experience on a scale of 1 to 5? So it's literally asking that question to have them review the experience. And again, this is all based on perception, and it is that's what perception drives reality. So that's what we work with. We work with managing the personal bias of others, and we use a lot of psychology to help people to manage expectations and to better perform. So the 5-star thank yous are all about appreciation. It doesn't take any cooperation or effort on the part of the counterpart of the participant. It's just merely expressing gratitude. And similar with the apology is just a statement that's made, and there are specific steps that we teach in the program on all of these, and they're very simple. And these are tracked in a micro journal. So you might ask, how long is it going to take journaling about this? And we literally recommend, we give a tiny little space in the micro journal. So there's only enough space for 2 or 3 words in there. So the date, 2 or 3 words about the experience, the thank you or the apology, and then they're actually just checking a box whether it's the experience and which one of those 3 that it is. So super simple. That's the majority of the activity that happens while participants are going through the program. So if you ask, like, what does it look like when someone's going through this? This is the bulk of it, is doing these activities and keeping a record of it. So let me move this little guy over here. These are the 5 channels of influence that make up the program. So first, we're gonna have these weekly coaching sessions. It's relationship coaching, and it happens weekly. A lot of the time, these are going to be shorter. Sometimes they happen in 5 or 10 minutes, um, because when people are catching on, and we're just doing the follow up, the accountability. We're answering questions, and it's a very brief coaching session that allows us to just to check in and help the participants set goals and to have a human connection that can help troubleshoot and help hold accountable until the individual by the time a year is out, and often much sooner than that, the participant has learned how to hold themselves accountable, and they've progressed to the point where they've now included these new habits and routines, and it's just happening like clockwork. It's actually much easier to do these things. Once you start doing them, it's much easier to maintain. It's not like holding up a heavy weight and feeling like you're going to get tired and you have to put it down. It's more like, taking rocks out of a backpack. And it's like, ooh, now that I've got those out of there, I'm gonna just keep moving without them. It's very nice. So the weekly group calls are 30 minutes, and that's just talking to a larger group of participants who are in the session. Then the online learning resources are videos, example strips, book list, and other resources that help the participant go through so that they can have those on demand. If they're working on a relationship and they're like, oh man, my weekly coaching call isn't for another couple of days. I just really want to learn about how to do this apology thing. It's tricking me out. So they can watch videos about apologies in there and look at the scripts, for example. Um, then the community page is another place to go. It's another somewhat live resource um, where it's a little more synchronous, a little more rapid. So when people have questions, they're able to say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this kind of unique situation, and I'm not sure what to do. What do you guys recommend?" And so we have people in there who are moderating as well as other participants who are going through the same program, participating in these same resources, and so between the experts on our coaching team and the people who are participating in the program having their own unique experiences, we like to support each other and create a safe space. It's a closed Facebook group, so it's a safe place for learning and growth to occur, as well as when we have updates to resources, and just positive messaging that helps you stay on track. Whoops. Finally, the workbook. I mentioned the micro journaling. So that happens either in an online method or with a hard copy, whichever works best for you. I have a copy here, and I'm always working through one of these books. So it gives the first 10 or so pages is looks like this, and it's just an explanation of the parts of the program, and you've got 5-star thank yous, 5-star experiences, right? So it's all in there, complete summary of the program. And then on these pages is just exactly what I talked about with the micro journaling. So you're just writing down in the space there, um, what uh, what you did and the date, and then checking the little box for what type of 5-star moment it was, a thank you, an apology, or an experience. So that's the end of this presentation. There's one more bit I can talk about. If you are familiar with a 360 feedback review, sometimes these are used as kind of a billy club with the organization. That might sound a little bit crude, but HR departments are very familiar with these. It's just a method that's been used a lot with managers and leaders who they need more self-awareness, and they're creating a lot of problems for the organization because they're kind of out of control with their relationships. And so what an HR department will often do, and I've worked for HR departments before, is that we would have a 360 review, and usually somebody comes in and we pay them a bunch of money to create a survey that goes to their bosses, peers that they work with, direct reports, and others, as well as themselves. And so it often does it is productive. However, sometimes it does more harm than good. And many times I've seen a 360 review happen, and then so the investment is made, but then the person leaves the organization, and it's just like it's almost like a, hey, you're gonna have to, we're gonna fire you soon if you don't shape up, and this is you got to change or else, right? But there's a bunch of problems with it, and one of them is that participants rarely like them. They usually hate the process and are trying to get out of it. um, the feedback is anonymous, which is fine, but this means that it's non-specific, which makes it really difficult to apply. So I've actually had these done on me, not because I was a problem employee, but because I worked in a learning and development department, and we tried out a lot of these things. So what was really confusing was when people would, give you feedback and you're not sure. And one person is saying, hey, I wish you'd have longer meetings with me. And another person is saying, hey, I wish you'd have shorter meetings with me. And so you're not really sure whether you're supposed to have longer meetings or shorter meetings in general. There's lots of similar examples, but basically the ideal would be to know who the feedback is coming from. And so we've developed ways, one of the reasons these 360s are given is because people don't know how to ask for feedback, and people don't know how to receive feedback. And so what we do is we actually just teach them how to get the feedback on their own. One of the funny things about it is that we tell people, don't use the word feedback, use the word advice. And that changes the whole dynamic. So we have a ton of little tricks that we use to teach people how to get feedback for themselves. um, which is, sorry, I bounced down to this point here, assumes people are unable to fix their own problems, right? But they are. People are able to learn and grow, and learn how to get their own feedback. Like, they can be in charge of their own progress and growth at work. Like, that should be the case. Like, we don't have to rely on an instrument to do that. They need to be able to independently do this, whether they have a special computer program or not. They need to be able to get feedback on their behavior and their relationships at work. So this bullet point, with small sample sizes, the anonymous feedback turns out to be awkwardly transparent. So which causes people to, if they only have 2 or 3 direct reports, then a lot of times those direct reports are going to be like, well, I'm either going to lean into this and give the feedback, or I'm going to hold back and not give the feedback because it's a small sample size. They'll be able to pick me out easily. So that causes people to hold back. And if we're relying on this tool, a 360 feedback tool, to give the feedback and it's not given, then of course it's a failure. And that doesn't help the participant. So again, it assumes people are unable to fix their own problems, which I believe that is necessary then to have a coach, right? Somebody who can help you build up the capacity, not just a billy club, if you will. And the last bullet point here is that the feedback quickly becomes staler and staler until the next review. Generally, they're done every 6 to 12 months, or with the pre on the beginning and the post on the end, over a 6 month period. And that's a long time to go and not know if you're getting any better. And then what happens if you go 6 months and then finally find out that leader hasn't improved? Then you're like, why did we wait 6 months? That was stupid. We've been paying this person to erode our organization like a cancer for 6 months after we started the intervention. Like, that's an awful long time. With my experience, you can tell just after 1 to 2, maybe 3 weeks, whether it's working really well or not. And 6 to 12 months is just so long from a business case standpoint. It's just crazy in my mind to imagine waiting that long for data. Like, why would anyone want to do that? So of course, my solution, and the solution that we provide, is the 5-star approach, and it offers this very pleasant second option, that participants often love. Typically, it's an opt-in opportunity. So instead of forcing them down this one path, and it's like, well, they're not aware of where they're at, and they don't know how to get feedback, so we're going to force them to do this or we'll fire them, right? And it's like, well, this is an opportunity to do something a little different, where they have the control, and they can decide, to go their own pace with it, and achieve results more quickly anyway. So it's because it's an opt-in, it's so much more of a pleasant experience for the participants. The feedback, instead of being anonymous and non-specific, like it's extremely relevant and directly applicable per relationship, because we're teaching them how to ask for and receive and apply feedback. With the small sample sizes, of course, this isn't a problem anymore. And we assume that people are, of course, able to fix their own problems. We hand them a coach, because obviously they need a little help. But we assume that they're going to grow and be independent of that coach within a year or less. And then, of course, it's a week by week, so we're able to see progress. Whether they're checking in with an HR generalist or HR business partner on a weekly or a monthly basis, or in reviewing that hard copy book, like I mentioned, or if they're doing the digital one, then we can determine what level of specificity of reporting you want to have with those. And one of the forms for that is that we can, when we do a rollout with a whole cohort, we can then aggregate the results, so that when the formal follow-up is done, that you can talk with that individual, and you can talk with the people around them to do firsthand follow-up. And you don't have to turn it into a big brother experience. So when we talk about aggregating results for a cohort, like, yes, if you really want to, we can give you the exact data, as long as you're telling the person, like, look, we're following your every move. But you don't have to do that. You can receive aggregated results, so that you can see how well the program is working, as far as how many experiences people are producing, the average number of apologies that are happening every week, as well as the delta in relationships. Are the relationships going from point A to point B throughout, from one week to the next? So this a lot of companies have a budget for 360 feedback reviews, and so we just compete with those budget dollars. It's an easy in, we find, a lot of times, and something that's happening already and can be much improved upon by doing it in a better way. So also, I just wanted to cover briefly, this is the client journey. So you might wonder, okay, what does this look like? What are the next steps? You might have talked to a sales executive, received an email, or seen something in our social media. You may be watching this free training or different free training that we've offered. And then you have the opportunity to do a demo with the sales executive. So they may show you this, or they may go into more detail with you if you've already seen this. Then you get to decide the number of seats that you want to purchase for your company, your organization, and then when you want to start the implementation. We usually need about, if it's an individual, we can start within a week. If it's an organization, we may need a week or two to set things up, but it's very quick. And you send the payment. We ask for that up front because we're giving you basically the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, with all of the resources. And so, we're giving you all the resources, we're giving you access to all the measurement tools, the micro journaling, and we're doing that kickoff. And so we're basically handing you so much of the value of this program. All that we have left is to give you the coaching that happens with the high touch human. So that's why we ask for that up front. And then and we have to do our staffing when there's a large increase in the number of coaches needed. So those are some of the, we're having to pay for the development of all those costs up front. Number 6 is receive communications. So a person or group. So we'll launch off all the resources and all the access. Attend a kickoff training if it's a group. We like to do those, and then attend coaching sessions, and that's individually done one-on-one. Receive access to resources and add it to the email list. So we have an email that goes out usually at least a couple times a week with tips and additional resources and updates to the program. And then number 4 is to receive access to the digital workbook, or if we need to print and ship hard copies. And that takes a little longer. So this is obviously quicker to just give you digital access if time is an issue. And then number 7 is to engage in the program, right? Start asking the ultimate relationship question, and doing the 5-star moments. And that's the bulk of the program is going through and doing those and receiving the coaching. And one of the things we do in the coaching, just so you know, is we ask, hey, this next week, how many rows you want to fill out, right? And since there's a date on each one, it's easy to to see how many you've done since the last time. And so we're asking them to set goals each time. So it's very numbers driven. Like if you talk about New Year's resolutions, like, oh, I want to improve my relationships, but most people have no idea how to do that or how to know how successful they are unless they have our program. So lastly, of course, we want your video testimonials, your written testimonials on our social media, and we want referrals. So we're always asking for that, and so that we can share and affect more people for the good. We want to catalyze 1 million 5-star relationships in 2021 and 2022. So in the next 2 years, we want to catalyze 1 million 5-star relationships. That's a serious goal that we have. And so we really do believe in the importance of this program as something that's changing the industry and something that's changing the modern workplace. It's so critically important that humans learn how to not be so polarized and conflicted about things, but to unite together and get the work done and help our companies and our organizations to improve the performance. And with a lot of change and crazy things going on in the world, we can unite together, we can improve our relationships, and we can improve our culture, and we can improve our organizational performance. This is something that we can control, it's something we can measure, and something that we can do together. So I'm looking forward to working with you, and I'm looking forward to helping your teams grow and your companies to improve their performance. I hope you have a great day, and I appreciate the time I've spent with you today. Thanks.